It's kind of startling how fast hiring decisions get made sometimes. I mean, maybe just 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's incredibly quick.
And what often gets lost in that rush is the actual person, right? Behind the polished resume. Those rehearsed answers, they just don't always show how someone really thinks or adapts or, connects.
It's a fundamental issue, isn't it? We lean so much on those first impressions, but they rarely show the full picture, the candidate's potential or their true emotional state.
Exactly. And that's precisely what we're diving into today. We're exploring how this cutting-edge emotion AI technology is being used, specifically to decode emotions in job interviews.
Right.
So our mission here is to unpack how it works, the problems it's trying to tackle in traditional hiring, and then we'll get into a really fascinating real-world example.
Okay.
And all this is based on insights from an industry article. Hire Smarter. Use AI to decode candidate emotions in interviews, which has a pretty detailed case study.
And what's really interesting is how this text starts to address some of those, long-standing blind spots, the ones that have really affected hiring for a long time.
So, looking at traditional recruitment, it sounds like there are some pretty big challenges AI is trying to fix. What are those core problems?
Well, one of the biggest is just how subjective human hiring decisions can be. We're all kind of wired to prefer candidates who just, feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they have a similar background or their personality clicks with ours. But this often leads to unconscious biases. And that can really hit diversity and, honestly, the quality of the hire, even when people mean well.
So that gut feeling isn't always the best guide. Okay. And what about nonverbal stuff? All those signals we send without speaking. I know I've definitely tried the poker face thing in interviews.
Oh, that's a huge piece. And it's often missed. Some studies suggest, 93% of communication is nonverbal?
93%. Wow.
Yeah. But traditional interviewers, often rushing, they frequently miss subtle red flags or even, positive cues in body language or facial expressions.
Right.
So if you rely only on what someone says, you're getting an incomplete picture, maybe even a biased one, because the real message isn't just in the words.
That figure is just huge. It implies we're missing almost everything in standard interviews. And then there's the time factor. Hiring managers are always under pressure, right?
Exactly. Rushed evaluations, they're a big reason for costly mishires. Companies spend a lot replacing people who weren't a good fit. And when you don't have enough time to really assess both the verbal and the nonverbal, decisions become even more likely to be biased or just, wrong. It's a sort of cycle where speed hurts quality.
Okay, so given these big hurdles, it sounds like this is where emotion AI might really offer something different. Let's pull back the curtain then. How does this technology actually work? What's its approach?
Well, the core idea is what they call a multimodal approach.
Multimodal?
Yeah, so it doesn't just analyze the words the candidate says. It simultaneously processes their facial expressions, the tone of their voice, and their verbal cues all together. By looking at all these data streams, sort of in concert, it assesses the candidate's underlying strengths and behaviors more deeply.
So it's not just listening, but also watching how they say it, what their face is doing. That's really interesting. What kind of insights does it uncover that a person might easily miss?
Well, it's designed to pinpoint crucial traits like, say, self-awareness, empathy, adaptability. These are qualities that are often really hard to gauge accurately in a typical interview.
Yeah, definitely.
But getting them right leads to much more informed and hopefully more successful hiring decisions.
It sounds incredibly powerful for HR. But, beyond the obvious benefits, are there complexities? Maybe pitfalls HR should think about when using a tool like this? Like, how do you keep the human touch central?
That's a really critical point. It's about empowering HR, definitely not replacing them. This AI can spot inconsistencies, right, between what someone says and their actual emotional state. That mismatch often just flies under the radar for a human interviewer.
Right.
It assesses personality traits for culture and job fit, giving these deeper data-driven insights. And importantly, it enhances objectivity, which is vital for reducing bias. But to your point about the human element, it doesn't replace human expertise. The article actually mentioned that in-house psychologists review the emotional insights. They refine the AI assessments, adding that layer of nuance.
Got it. So it's a tool, an enhancement. How does the tech actually understand emotions, though? What's happening under the hood with all that data?
So at its core, it uses something called a valence arousal model. Basically, it maps emotions on two axes. How pleasant or unpleasant they feel, that's valence, and how calm or excited they are, that's arousal.
Okay.
This helps to detect 8 core emotions from video and audio, looking at facial expressions and voice tone. It gauges the candidate's real-time emotional state, their engagement. But then it goes further. It does text analysis on the interview transcript itself. And from the words, it can detect like 28 different emotions.
28 from just the text.
Yeah, it gives a much more detailed view of their communication beyond just the face or the voice. And thinking bigger picture, for a large-scale hiring, this kind of tool can process thousands of files quickly, accurately, and ideally, ensuring unbiased evaluations across everyone.
Processing thousands of files, aiming for truly unbiased results. That sounds like a massive undertaking. How does that translate practically? Let's get into that example. The article mentions someone named Chris Sauer. Can you walk us through that case study?
Absolutely. So the analysis looked at a mock interview from YouTube. They ran this video through the Emotion AI system to pull out all these detailed emotional insights about the candidate, Chris Sauer.
Okay, and what did the AI notice first off about who was in the video?
Well, it identified 2 faces, naturally, the interviewer and the candidate, Chris. But what's really interesting is that both of them showed a dominant neutral emotion. Pretty high intensity, too, around 44% for the whole video.
Dominant neutral. So, like, consistently calm. What did that mean for Chris Sauer's facial expressions specifically?
Yeah, for Chris, his main facial expression was neutral. Now, in a professional context, this often signals composure, control. It suggests professionalism, focus, maybe measured responses. But here's the thing. Neutrality can sometimes be misread by a human interviewer. They might think it's lack of enthusiasm, maybe even disinterest.
Okay.
But in Chris's case, the analysis suggested he was likely consciously managing his emotions, presenting himself as thoughtful, deliberate, focusing on the substance of his answers, not trying to wow with big displays of emotion.
So it's not necessarily negative. It could be intentional control. Did the AI pick up any subtle things, though? Despite that overall neutrality, humans are pretty bad at catching those quick micro-expressions.
It did, yeah. The AI noted subtle shifts. Things like slight upward lip movements, maybe raise eyebrows when he was making key points. These small, quiet expressions probably signal sincerity. They help emphasize important points, kind of subtly backing up his words. And these are exactly the nuances a human might miss, especially under time pressure.
And his voice, did the audio analysis match his face? Was it also neutral?
It absolutely did. His audio emotion analysis also showed a primarily neutral tone. His voice stayed calm, composed, no big swings in pitch or emotional intensity.
Okay.
That steady tone. It reinforces the idea of emotional control, a balanced approach, which, can be a real asset professionally. For roles like those at REI, that consistency communicates reliability, dependability.
So calm and collected face and voice. Then the AI used the Big Five model. That's the standard personality framework, right? Openness, conscientiousness, etc. What did that show for Chris?
That's right, the Big Five. It's a cornerstone in personality psychology. So for Chris, the analysis showed high levels of openness. He showed curiosity, a willingness to learn. He talked really passionately about the outdoors, how he aligned with REI's values. You could see his creativity in how he connected his personal experiences to the company's mission. And his eagerness to hear about employee ideas. That suggested adaptability, being open to new perspectives.
And was there another major trait that stood out?
Yes, agreeableness. Chris came across with warmth, compassion, especially when he talked about wanting to help others. And those qualities, patience, compassion, they're really vital for roles at REI where teamwork and customer relationships are so important.
So he's composed, open, agreeable. Sounds like a strong candidate. But the article hinted at a really surprising insight, especially given that neutral presentation, something about an underlying major emotion. What was that?
Yes. This is where it gets really interesting. Despite that neutral face and voice, which, again, a human might easily misread as maybe indifference, the AI detected a strong underlying enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah. It wasn't in big gestures or a loud voice. It was subtle. It came through in his choice of words, the passion he conveyed when talking about things he cared about, like the outdoors, like REI's mission.
Wow.
It really challenges that common idea that enthusiasm has to be, loud and obvious. Sometimes deep passion is in the content, not just the delivery style.
That is fascinating. So he's not jumping around, but the AI senses his passion through his language? Okay, so considering the interview context, what principles did Chris seem to follow? How did he balance things?
Well, an interview always requires that careful balance, right?
Yeah.
Authenticity versus professionalism. And Chris seemed to manage that really well.
How so?
He highlighted his strengths like patience, compassion, which are perfect for REI's focus. But he also acknowledged areas for growth, which actually makes him more credible.
Right.
He cleverly linked his personal stuff education, loving the outdoors, directly to REI's mission. That reinforces the fit. And he showed he was thinking long-term by asking about the company's openness to employee ideas. That suggests real engagement.
So, pulling it all together, what were the main takeaways about Chris from this AI analysis? His strengths, maybe any potential weak spots?
The strengths were pretty clear. Good interpersonal skills, solid achievements, adaptability, all pointing to him being a strong fit for customer-focused roles.
Okay.
The potential area for growth, though, was that his neutral, composed style, while generally positive, could lead some human interviewers to underestimate his enthusiasm, especially if they expect more dynamic emotion when he discusses his passions.
Right, if they're looking for more outward excitement.
Exactly. And he also showed a good future orientation, talking about career goals within REI and even interest in similar companies like Bass Pro Shops.
And you mentioned text analysis earlier. The AI looked at the actual transcript, too. What did that add?
Yes, it analyzed the transcript sentence by sentence. It's capable of spotting, like we said, 28 different emotion categories just from the text.
And what popped up for Chris?
In his interview, prominent emotions in the text included things like admiration, curiosity, realization, caring, and approval. This kind of detailed analysis helps understand not just what was said, but the underlying emotional tone, the mindset coming through the words themselves.
So with all this incredibly detailed data, what were the recommendations for Chris? How could he potentially improve?
The suggestions were quite practical, actually. Things like consciously incorporating a few more visible moments of excitement or warmth, maybe just a genuine smile when talking about his passions, just to make that underlying enthusiasm a bit more obvious.
Okay, make it easier for the human interviewer to see it.
Right. And also using storytelling more, making his achievements and challenges more memorable, more relatable. That helps engage the interviewer's emotions and leaves a stronger impression.
So let's zoom out. What's the big picture here? Is this AI aiming to replace human interviewers? Is it going to change how we interact at work fundamentally?
No, not at all, really. The key takeaway seems to be that using AI like this in recruitment isn't about replacing human judgment. Instead, it enhances our ability. It helps us ask better, more focused questions, gain deeper insights. It helps exactly where human perception might struggle, like with those unconscious biases we talked about.
Right, filling in the gaps.
Exactly. It helps minimize bias, which is just crucial for making truly informed hiring decisions. It's about adding a layer of objective understanding to the, very human process of interviewing.
So emotion AI helps us get past those subjective gut feelings, maybe, and make more data-driven choices about who joins the team. Deeper insights, not just faster ones.
Precisely. It gives us tools, information to look beyond the surface and really try to understand a candidate's potential more fully.
Which leads me to a final thought for you, our listener, to consider. If AI can uncover hidden enthusiasm in something like a job interview, what other subconscious cues might we be missing in our everyday interactions? And maybe more importantly, what could we learn if we actually had tools to help us see them?